Yo, Joe.
Hello. Hey, what's happening?
Good morning,
Thursday.
man.
It's Thursday morning. It's time to party.
Pedro in Moscow says we're a minute late. I think it's the time-space continuum between Moscow and here. It's just traveling through the ether. Like we're like Major Tom this morning. We're just out here floating in a tin can. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I think that's it. Also, I had some technical difficulties this morning, so
I was trying to cover for you, man. Don't
dance
with me here, man.
Hey, you gotta own it. You gotta own it. You gotta live up to the the community. You gotta make sure that you're being honest. That's what it's all about.
All right, Joe. I think. Oh wait, I was gonna say I think we have no time for friendly banter this morning. We have a lot to go to.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I do have a lot of questions.
In the words of Frank Costanza, I got some real issues with these people, and they're gonna hear about it.
It's funny. I was doing a Seinfeld quote this morning because one of my technical issues was there was something that was saying waiting for cachet, and I was like, oh, I've already got cachet. I've got cachet up the yin yang.
Yeah, you're accentuating it wrong. I think it's just cash, but I don't know. We'll have to find out. I got to check with if Wes was here, he would straighten out how to pronounce stuff.
Wes, where's Wes? We need.
Yeah, he's not present just Wes. Yet. Hey, before we jump in, though, I got to say happy birthday to Stan. I know it's a day late, but hey, man, we're still on the right side of the grass this morning, man. Happy birthday. Glad that you're here. And I'm glad everybody's here. There's 25 people right out of the gate. We're improving. I always like to try and do a quick shout out to new people because doing the whole thing is kind of tough. But I think Michael's new, Michael Gabber, and I saw another one, Liz, Ziv's Exotics. Good morning. But good morning to everybody. For anybody to be tuned in at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central is bonkers in my mind. But here we are. We're doing it. We're making it work. I have to give a couple disclaimers. I can't figure out my angle. Am I better over here, Joe?
I'm usually on the left when I'm looking at the.
Yeah, let me move it back or try to. Bam. There we go. Now we're in our comfort zones. I had to give a couple disclaimers. One of my favorite things about this hobby industry is the sort of laissez-faire, capitalistic free-for-all that it is. So I do like that. Big fan.
Yeah.
I am a fan of Mike Wilbanks personally. I actually sat at the same table with him at Tinley auction and his wife. He's a cool guy. Checked out this guitar that he bought at the auction. Not quite as cool as the guitar that Jeremy auctioned off, but still pretty cool guitar. Good guy. No problem with him being an image and a face of the industry, but I don't like some of these games right now, but no problem with Mike Wilbanks. Also, what you guys don't know, and I don't know for sure, but I'll let you all draw the same conclusions. Back a year and a half ago when I was fiddling around with NFTs, they were big, I created what I still believe to be the very first ball python NFTs. They were kind of knockoffs of like Pokemon trading cards, and my son drew a little, he actually traced a snake emoji, but that was the first card, was his hand-drawn thing. And the person that bought it, I don't know it to be Mike Wilbanks, but their handle was Wilbanks. And that was at the same time that he announced he would take Bitcoin for payment. So I think that's him. So he's been good to me. I got no problem with Mike, and I got no problem with free enterprise and how people go about stuff. And Mike is really not my only problem, because there's no secret about Mike. But the pricing nonsense in the games, I need help, Joe. I got to take you through this. I'm going to pitch a little case. And then you got to tell me, and the audience too, do I just need to suck it up and get over it?
Hang on. Let me just ask this. Who's Mike Wilbanks?
Okay. I'm going to tell you, Mike Wilbanks is an incredibly big producer. Guys, what do you think he sells? What do you think he produces a year? 20,000 hatchlings? More? Less? I don't know. Let's say 20,000 plus or minus 10,000. And we got our baby.
Where's he out of? Where's
no idea. I don't everywhere. He's all over. He's massive.
Okay.
He's literally probably gross volume, certainly a top 5 producer. And I don't know if he has accounts like PetSmart or Petco or whatever, but he produces just a massive, massive amount of snakes. Jeremy says Oklahoma, he thinks. Okay. Wilbanks, Adam says Oklahoma. Okay. Okay, 3,000 clutches yearly. So yeah, we're talking about 18,000 hatchlings. Stan says 4,000 a year. So okay, and Jeremy says 500 million trillion. Yeah, so it's a lot of snakes. Okay, I appreciate the clarification there, Jeremy.
Million trillion. Okay.
So yeah, and Charlie gets my point here. Mike Wilbanks is omnipresent. Like, is it Oklahoma or is it the world? It doesn't matter.
Have we mentioned
everywhere.
Wilbanks before in our gatherings on Thursdays? Because I don't remember that name.
He probably, maybe not. He is again,
he's so omnipresent that everybody just knows him, and so why would you bring him up? Because it's a given that people would know him.
Sort of. And the other thing is he's not, and don't get me wrong, it's not that he's not innovating. And obviously we're talking about him today. So he's causing disruption and innovation in his sales technique. But I don't know that any of us would say that he is the innovative breeder pushing development and new morphs and new combos the way that, say, Justin or Bob Vu or some of these other guys would do. So Wilbanks is he is the big box store of just above Petco. Man, that's not true. He has really cool stuff. He just has a massive amount of it, but I don't think, like I say, I don't think he's Adam at Benevolent Reptiles puts it right. He's got a huge footprint with production. There's almost zero social media presence for as big as he is. He was innovative. He innovated a line of incubators. And this is my conclusion, not what he said. My conclusion is that he went to a wine fridge manufacturer in China, I would guess, but certainly in Asia, and had them outfit a line just for him that would be better for incubation rather than wine temp holding. And they're nice incubators. So here's my thing, and it drives me crazy. And it doesn't even drive me crazy that he does it. It drives me crazy that apparently it works. So let me show you a picture. This is from about a week ago, and Shannon's in the audience. He can vouch for me. This is a picture that I sent to Shannon about a week. He could even find the screenshot date. If you look in the middle there's a gene called Super Gravel. I don't know how to zoom this in. It's a Super Gravel. It's a female. It's a 2023. Wilbanks has it marked at 850. Let's look to the left here. There's a Super Gravel. It's 475. Also a 2023, also a female. Let's look to the right. There's a Super Gravel for 425. That one is a 23. Maybe it's a 22. Female. The same genetics. Clearly, let's just spitball this, 100% markup. Exhibit B. Where's Exhibit B? I'm not very good with sharing my screen. Here we go. Exhibit B. Coral Glow or Banana Clown, 850. Coral Glow Banana. Now, this one's a pastel, so you could argue that pastel devalues it a little bit. I didn't realize that it had pastel in it when I was making my point. But 850 to 400.
Okay.
What happens is Mike Wilbanks runs perpetual 50% off sales.
Okay.
If he's doubling his price and running perpetual 50% off sales, then it's just a big gain. Yeah. And that's, again, I don't mind people trying things. Wilbanks has been good to me. He's a great guy. No problem. This skews the market and it makes my life a headache. And I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I think it makes a lot of other people's lives a headache. And then it adds to the whole question of what is pricing, what's reasonable. And I wish I remember who it was, because I want to give credit to them. Somebody did point out, well, at least he's doubling his prices and then running the half off rather than just tanking prices and running things at actual half off. And I was like, damn it, that's a really long roundabout way of doing it. But yeah, you're right. I would rather that. Yeah, Snakes from the Memory says, yes, I take it you're not hopping on the Black Friday sale. No, and I'm not a buyer right now is the other thing. So I don't really know. But I guess what gets me is that it feels insulting to the customer. And I'll wrap up my little tantrum here. It feels insulting to the customer. He's such a big player and such a big influence that the rest of us feel obligated to have some sort of sale going. So then do we start just lying about, okay, everybody, let's all raise our prices 25% so we can run a 25% off sale.
Yeah.
And then my last thing is I personally can't equate it to ball pythons, but in my career, I hated sales in the first place. I hate Groupon. I hate sales. I want to give a great, honest product at a fair price, at an incredible experience. And I feel like it cheapens the product playing these games. So
Yeah.
What say you, Joe?
This makes me question how things are priced. Like if you look at those two, your first example, you have, and I can't, gravel. So,
Oh yeah, sorry. Here we go. Okay.
okay.
No, this one. This is the one. Yeah. Okay.
So first of all, what's gravel? I don't know what gravel is.
Gravel's
Can you
another
just,
morph. Yeah,
okay.
it's a ink. Let's not get any natives mad. It's an incomplete dominant morph. So it's a dominant trait. It's very similar to another trait called yellow belly, but it's a when you have a super form of it, it makes in its own form. It's very, very nuanced. It's very subtle. You can hardly tell. In its super form, it makes these badass looking snakes. I love these things.
Okay, so and what is what makes it valuable? That valuable. So what gives it the value of $475? So what you're saying is there's the snake on the left, $475. He's marked it up, and then he does a 50% sale, 850. So what makes it 475, and what would make it 475 to begin with?
Okay, so there's two different stories going on here then. One is the question of how does anything have value in, let's just keep it in the ball python world. How does anything have value in the ball python world?
Right. Yes.
And that is very, very hard to quantify. We could do weeks of show on that. The other discussion is, okay, let's ignore why or how we get there. And let's look at this spike and anomaly. 400 plus, 400 plus, 400 plus, 800 plus, 400 plus, 400 plus. So here's this incredible outlier that has incredible influence. And I think Reptile Bros said, I don't see a problem. It's not a problem. It's a point of discussion. It's the time of year. It's relative. It's on my mind. It's making me crazy. But let me jump to the problem though. The average buyer that is comparing prices at a show at Morph Market is going, wait a minute, what's going on here? Or when I'm vending a show and Mike's whole backdrop is not even his brand, it's 550% off flags now, and he's got 5 times the display that I have, it creates a different atmosphere that it's not unfair. It's not a problem. It's a headache of it's a distraction, I guess is the way, you know what I mean? And
Well,
it
yeah,
feels
yeah,
it like all I ever want to do is get down to the business of taking care of customers, creating great snakes, and giving great prices.
yeah, yeah.
I know Will Banks does not wake up in the morning and go, what do I need to do to keep Adam happy? It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. Maybe I'm just working through it here, but those are the frustrations that I feel is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So it's amazing how how The Sopranos really enters into my understanding of the world these days, because I'm in the middle of watching the last season here, and there's an episode. So Tony has a friend named Artie Bucco who has a restaurant.
Yeah.
So, and it's a fine dining restaurant, right?
Okay.
And he's not a new restaurant opens up, and that restaurant starts to take business away. And so Tony says, why don't you do twofers? Just do twofers or something. Just throw it out there. Do 50%. And Artie goes, we are a fine dining restaurant. We do not do that. I'm not going to sink to that level. And I don't know why I bring that. Maybe because I watched the episode last night, but I think it plays into this in a certain way. You're trying to be something different from what Will Banks is
Right.
being.
And he
But
casts a long shadow. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the difference here, though, between, and maybe I'm wrong about this, the difference between looking at your old industry, restaurants, is that there are so many factors that are involved in the experience of going to a restaurant that you can control, and then you can dictate the value of that experience. With snakes, I'm not sure that there are that many variables to to say I have a different product than Adam, have a different product than what Will Banks has. Is that accurate or not?
Yeah. So a couple people brought up some good things in the chat that goes along with what you're saying. Probably where it irks me is that a lot of what I'm producing is sort of Will Banks' high end right now. I look to get onto that in the next few years. Yeah. But Super Gravel is one of my projects that I really love, and I have a few that I want to sell.
Okay.
There it is.
There's the personal. There's
rub,
what hurts
yeah.
you. Yeah, yeah.
When
people get upset,
clowns, yeah.
When people get upset about stuff, I go, okay, who hurt you? What happened? What's the story behind this principle that you have a tirade against? What's the real thing? Yeah, okay, and that's your real thing. Yeah.
The real thing is that I walked into the room with banana clown females, and here's more of the games. I walked into the room with Super Gravel females, and here is more of the game. So yes, that bothers me some. Now, I don't want that forever to be my target base. I will sell that stuff. We talked about it before. There'll be, what you aim for, and then what you get on as sort of byproduct isn't the right word. That's really handsome byproduct. So no problem. To your question that was sort of bigger earlier, and to your comment just a moment ago, here's the other crazy part. And again, here's why I don't really have a problem with what Will Banks is doing. It bugs me, but there's nothing wrong with it. And again, I love the free market. Again, laissez-faire, unregulated, wild west of pricing. And I don't really believe in price fixing either. So I know I'm talking out of both ends of my mouth. I'm just trying to sort this out. But let's pick through the restaurant thing for a minute. Most restaurants, and the higher end you get, these numbers are tighter and tighter. Most restaurants in the world that I worked in a good world, my cost of goods sold and my labor on a day-to-day basis was right around 90% of retail pricing. So I really only had 10% to screw around with before I started losing money. Now that's across the board. On draft beer, I would make far more money than 10%. On a rack of ribs, I generally would only break even, to be honest with you. Okay. So there's a little bit of product mix that goes in there. If you think about the old Ruby Tuesday model, buy a salad bar for $2 because that costs them about 20 cents a plate. So they hope you come in, buy the ribs, but they don't really care about you buying the ribs. What they care about you buying is the salad bar. So, but excuse me, the point being, in a restaurant, you don't really have much negotiation in your mind of how far down you can chase prices. And it's why so many restaurants go out of business. They do the twofer thing, or they say, I got to stay competitive. And they, instead of building brand loyalty with great experience and people finding value in your prices, if you just cut it, chase it to the bottom, you got a business. Mm-hmm. With ball pythons, Jessica at the holdback rack, now this was probably 6-8 months ago. She did a pretty in-depth study, and she's far smarter than I am. She calculated that the average cost of creating any given ball python is about $67. Let's throw some inflation on there. Let's call it $80. So if you could sell any snake for more than $80, you're probably making money, was her pitch. So even at the low to mid range that I would say goes up to, let's just use $850. If you sell it at 400, you're still making $320. You're still running a 300% markup. Mm-hmm. That's way better than my 7% margins in food and beverage. So on the one hand, I don't really care what anybody sells anything for, right up until it's my super gravel and my female banana clown, I guess is what I'm saying. So to your question earlier, how does it even get to $850 to begin with? It's truly what the market will pay for it. It's what we see people paying for it. Somebody's going to test it at $375 and somebody's going to test it at $525. If they sell it at $525, they're going to mark it there again. You see what I mean? That there's enough volume and movement that the market will dictate the price.
Yeah. Which is, what I mean, you put out the prices that the market can bear. I mean, you try it and you do it. And I mean, that's what we do with the accounting firm too. We go, okay, well, this is a certain amount of time that we put in, certain things that we do, a certain difference from other accounting firms. Let's put it at this price, and we're not the cheapest. But we have to make sure that we are set apart from the experience of other people, of other accounting firms. Like, it's just so. But also, I'm still like kind of caught up on the product. The product that you have is very similar to the product that Wilbanks has.
Yes, at the moment, that's correct. Yeah, or a lot. The majority is yes. Yeah.
And to have that much of a difference between two snakes on his site as well makes me go, okay, is there actually a difference between these two snakes or no?
Oh, say his super gravel versus say my super gravel?
No, on his site where you said this is 800 and this is 400, is there a difference that's just not?
Oh, hang on, let me
apparent.
clarify something. Hang on, Joe. I'm sorry, I didn't present that correctly then. Benevolent Reptiles, Adam, really fast. High-end restaurants have a smaller margin than the 10%. Did I catch that right? That's correct. For example, one of my customers right now, they just cracked $3 million in annual revenue for the very first time in food and beverage, and they're going to clear about $120,000 when all is said and done this year. So that's only about a 3% margin on that. And that's pretty good. They're pretty excited about that from a food and beverage standpoint. There's more to it, and that's a bigger conversation, but yes, the revenue gets higher, the margin gets smaller, the percentage is very small. The dollar amount can be very high. If you're doing 12 million and you're clearing 3%, life's pretty good. Okay. Joe, I'm sorry, I presented this incorrectly based on your question you just asked. The one I'm pointing at is the only one from Wilbanks. All these other snakes are other people's
Oh,
snakes.
gotcha.
My
Oh, gotcha.
okay.
Okay,
All
gotcha.
right. Let's
All
let the
right.
light shine in now. Okay.
I
Sorry.
see. I see.
And
Gotcha.
that probably was on me in the middle of my rant, not leaving space for discussion, which is a cardinal sin on this show. We have to make space.
No, I'm so that's Will Banks's price is double what the standard is for that particular snake.
Yes, but he
Okay.
also, what you don't see here is that in reality he runs a perpetual 50% off
Right.
sale.
Yeah, I got
And
it. I got it.
I think, audience, keep me honest. I think now, because you can run sales on Morph Market. So if you look to the seller on the screen to the right, you could see their snake is marked at 475, but they're running it on sale for 425. Typical, 10, 12, 15% off type of sale right there. I think, and you can only do that once every 30 days on the price of an animal. So I think Wilbanks has been pricing these visibly out there that high for over a month now in anticipation of clicking 50% off on his whole inventory. But I can tell you, it shows literally his backdrop is a red, white, and yellow flag that's yay big 100 times behind him that says 50% off. God forbid you're vending next to that dude and somebody walks by and is like, well, can you match it? And they don't go, can you match his prices? They go, oh, you do
Can
half
you give
off?
me the deal?
Yeah, can you give me the deal? And you don't have time to go, well, no, my prices are actually better than that nonsense. He's playing a game. It's that hook that people get and that excitement that they feel like they're getting a value and a deal kind of thing. So
Okay, but still my question is
yeah,
even though I misunderstood,
sure.
the question is still the same. If we look at these two that are up on the screen right next to each other, the 475 and the 850, you're saying those are similar snakes. Those are the
They're
same snakes.
genetically identical. Yes.
They're genetically identical. So
Yes.
there's no other factors that would contribute to the 850 as opposed to the 475.
Magic
The way
Wilbanks dust.
the way that it looks, the way that it presents, nothing like that.
Not technically. That's a good looking example, and I don't know this to be a fact. Sarah says you're not seeing the actual snake in Wilbanks ads. So that could be a stock photograph of a representative of that genetic combo.
Yeah. The reason I'm bringing this up is, so I've used to collect comic books. One of the things that being involved in these conversations, it's reignited this part of my brain that's like, oh, I like collecting. I loved collecting things. I loved like looking for different stories and comic books and getting like the rare ones and everything. So I
Yeah.
started to I have this collection, and I'm going through the collection. I have I've bought this app, and I'm logging all of the all of the comic books. uh and and they're pricing it as I'm
Yeah.
logging. There's a price guide that is involved in everything, right?
Yeah.
So
It's a great analogy, by the way. Keep going. Yes.
But when I log it, they give me three choices. And this is what I've learned since I was a kid. Now there is a scale that determines the price, a 10-point scale. And it's not just a 10-point scale. It is it goes to the 10th spot, the decimal. So a comic book can be graded a 6.2 or a 9.8. A 9.2 is near mint. That's what it's that. So
Right.
you could have a mint condition, near mint condition, fine, very fine, fine, and then it gets worse from there. Fair, and then poor quality. So is there some kind of similar, like when, and the difference? So actually, I have this right here. This is one of my most prized possessions.
Oh, what do we have here? Hang on a second. This is a Silver Surfer #2. No,
No,
Fantastic Four. Okay.
this is
How do I make this?
Fantastic Four.
How do I make
Fantastic
this?
Four #12. So
Wow.
1963, the first
What?
meeting.
Wait, hold that
Yeah,
up again. Now you're on the big screen.
Fantastic Four #12.
Wow.
Uh,
Did you say
it-
64?
63, 1963.
That's when the
Uh,
Beatles sang "I Want to Hold Your Hand." Like that is historical there.
so this is the first time that the Hulk fights the Thing. And the Thing was one of my favorite characters on all of the Marvel universe. I love that character when I was a kid, and I always collected every time the Incredible Hulk fought the Thing. I just loved it. It was great. But
Now I know this isn't a comic book podcast, although I suspect that well would run deep if we started one. But
yes.
I wouldn't. I would be the big dummy on comic books.
I'm scared to get involved in that, that
What
community.
what does something like that, Fantastic Four #12 from 1963, what does that run you these days?
So this is the issue, right? So near mint condition, this comic book runs $16,000.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm intrigued.
All right. Uh, fair condition, it's about $6,000.
Okay,
So, and that's on the 10-point scale. That's a
yeah.
difference of maybe 3.5 points.
What does that one run? That particular one, what would you list that
Well,
at a marketplace today?
this is difficult now because I'm not skilled at the 10-point scale. So I don't really know how to grade this, but it's somewhere between $5,000 and $15,000.
Okay. That is a lot of okay. Now in
But
Adam's world, there's an economic scale called how many Gibsons. That's about 3 to 5 Gibsons, Joe. I got to tell you, that's a lot of Gibsons, brother. That is.
I know, and I'm picking it up and I'm waving it around, and like I shouldn't be. It should be in
Playing
a glass
frisbee with it.
case.
Yeah.
It should be in a glass case up here or whatever. It's probably the most, like, I have a shitty car. Oh, sorry, I have a terrible car. Besides my house, it's probably the most valuable thing that I own is that little comic book.
Okay, so
It's
look,
probably worth more than my car.
there's the Gibson economic scale, and then there's the retirement fund scale. Very high in Gibsons, very low on retirement fund. Okay, so like we don't have to. All right, let's let that be.
But what my issue is I go, okay, well, it's 3.5 points from in a range of $10,000.
Yeah.
So $5,000 to $15,000, right?
Yeah.
So what I need to do I need to send this away to get it rated by somebody who goes, okay, this is what it's worth. This is where it lands on the 10 points.
Much like coins and baseball cards or the PSA
Yeah.
ratings and all that. Yeah. What is that? Numismatics or what's the word in coins? Doesn't matter. So, all right. To your point.
Yeah.
You got, what would Steven call it? You got brand equity. Wilbank's been around forever. You know, if you pay, let's take Wilbank's out of it. If you got a really well-known brand, you might be willing to pay, 5, 8, 10, 20% more. I don't know. Some people pay more just to support me, which I'm thankful for, which is cool. But there's some brand trust and some brand equity in there rather than just being the new breeder that pops up. Your overall ratings, Morph Market's expensive. I think I just paid $324 to re-up my subscription. And really the reason I do it is to have a rating system. And yeah, I like Essential Marketplace, but I do pretty well without it. I don't necessarily, I do need, the ratings are vitally important on there. So perfect rating system. Not a perfect rating system, excuse me, perfect ratings for proper royals. The system is imperfect, but it's as good as we have, no problem. So there's that. Then there's the demand of the genetics, like different flavors get hot and you don't know why. Do you remember, it's a great movie, by the way. You ever see that movie Sideways with Paul Giamatti?
Yeah.
Fantastic movie, right?
Yeah.
Very few people believe me. I swear to God, and you can Google it. That movie single-handedly drove the price of Merlot down about 30%.
Right.
On one hand, it drove me nuts as a restaurateur. As a consumer, to this day, you can get killer Merlot for about 80 cents on the dollar of Cabernet. And what most people don't know is, in a blind test, most people wouldn't know the difference between them. And most California wine, even though it's labeled Cabernet, only has to have 75% of that wine, whatever it's labeled. The other 25% going into it is usually Merlot. So it created a great value for me. But what I'm saying is there are these irrational sways of the market that, the analogy in snakes is Justin just created this amazing XYZ combo, and now people want to do that. So the price of whatever that is goes up. Or sometimes there's something scientific. Genetic testing just proved that a recessive gene that a lot of people work with isn't as simple as we used to think it was, and isn't as scientifically reliable.
Mm-hmm.
The jury's a little bit out because a lot of people don't believe it. It's not been peer reviewed. It's not been this or that. So there's a lot of back and forth. I have to say, I believe the science as it's presented, but that's me. I don't work with the gene, so it doesn't bother me. So some of those things sway it, but by and large, it's mostly how readily available is the gene and what will somebody pay for it right here, right now.
Okay.
Shows are even more Wild West. Shows you could have. I remember at Tinley, a good buddy of mine, I'm pointing at it like anybody could see it. I have a male gene called Ultramel. Super hot, super powerful, popular 2 years ago, through the roof on Ultramel. Visual recessive gene. I had a male. He's a year old. He'll be ready to breed shortly. I had him marked for 300 up in Chicago. Admittedly, a little bit high, but it gives me a chance to negotiate down, make somebody's day, blah, blah, blah. Maybe, is that Wilbanks-ish? Okay, maybe. I don't know. Go to my buddy. He's got one, same genetics, almost the same age, $100.
Okay. Yeah.
So how much does somebody need rack space? If you're done with Ultramels and you don't need a single gene Ultramel, and you don't need it taking up the space, the overhead, eating your rats, and you can make a customer's day by giving them a killer deal on it, you let it rip. So, I mean, in the end, it comes down to the individual. And that also circles all the way back to the beginning where I said, I don't really have a problem with it, but it does drive me nuts and I can't let go of it. So maybe that's the definition of having a problem.
I think
I don't know.
This is more the accurate quote from the beginning of the show. I don't really have a problem with it, but here's the problem. You did say that. You did say that.
Good. I like to be seen as the reasonable end all be all of my beliefs, and that's a pretty clear indication of it there.
So let me ask you this then. Nobody's going to go, my tax return is more valuable because I got it done with Gulf Coast, or but they will say this guitar that I have is a Fender as opposed to a Gremlin, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you go, is that talked about in the, so I'm reading posts like like this one from Sarah. I will 100% buy from someone I know and trust. Do you talk about it when you talk about your snakes? Do you go, this is a Wilbanks?
Yeah, except you wouldn't say Wilbanks, but definitely. Yeah. There's
this is a proper royal snake.
They probably don't say that either, to be truthful. I want them to one day. They will one day, but not yet. But yeah, definitely. You would say, Shannon and I did a breeding project. We know that female was from Garrick DeMeyer. That's a Garrick DeMeyer. His brand is Royal Constrictor Designs. That's a Garrick DeMeyer former breeder that we just produced from as well.
Mhm.
Oh, Garrick's line. And I guarantee you people will be like, oh, you got a dreamsicle from one of Garrick's girls? Yeah, I did that. So that's cool. It doesn't mean that I'll make any more money on it necessarily, but you might get a sale out of it conversationally going, yeah, I bought this from Garrick. That means you're buying really good, high quality animals that are taken care of. They're probably properly genetically identified. Yeah, it's a good, it's sort of the, this is grass fed, free range, organic. It's all good stuff going into the mix. Does it taste any different on the plate? Ideally, I don't know, but it's a good product on the plate. It should. So yes, there are things like that. I have a breeder from another guy named a breeder male stud from another guy named Ozzy. Everybody in the audience knows who I'm talking about when I say Ozzy, and they know it's good stuff. So yes, that does matter.
Okay. That's interesting.
And can I make, I'm sorry, I got to give one more disclaimer, which is you usually do that before the fact, not after it. I would never have this conversation about one specific person if I thought for 1 second it was going to change their outcome or be detrimental to their sales. Mike Wilbanks is a perfect point of discussion because my discussion of my opinion will not tip his outcome whatsoever. Anybody that sees this, I want to make sure they know I would never single out, if I wasn't Proper Royals, I would never single out Proper Royals mode of how he does stuff is terrible. I think people got to find their own way. I believe markets will hold people accountable over time. You might fool somebody once, you might fool them twice, but over time you'll be exposed, good or bad. And so I want to make that clear. Mike Wilbanks doesn't care about my opinion here. He probably appreciates all the traffic that I'm going to create from people clicking on his site to go, what's Adam up in arms about? All of that stuff. So it was very, very purposeful. And there was other people in the comments that were mentioned. I specifically have ignored those because those are people just trying to make it just the way that I am, and more power to however they figure it out. If they're not, it's not my style, but I don't think they're truly hurting anybody.
Okay. All right. I appreciate you saying that too. That's good because I don't even, I'm, kind of peripherally a part of this. But I don't want to be a part of like singling people out.
No, we don't go head hunting. Even, and people will know, even people that I thoroughly dislike, this ain't the place, and that's not what I'm going to do. It's not in my, I don't have time for it. I joke about it. I call it a podcast slap fights. Well, in a slap fight with somebody over the internet, like how dumb of a thing. Like if I'm going to have a slap fight, let's get in a ring and at least like play fight and pretend,
Let me ask you this too.
Yeah.
So, and this is kind of it kind of goes off a little bit in a different direction because, and maybe because I'm harping on this analogy of comic books and I'm trying to like understand collecting and vending because I'm just a collector. I mean, I kept, I have 300 comic books or whatever. Not all of them are keys or whatever, but it's a nice collection. Sometimes I go, well, maybe I'll sell these, or maybe I'll trade these, or or something or whatever. I don't think I have enough time to do that kind of thing right now. But this one, I'll never, and I keep I keep showing it. Probably every time I pick it up, it loses $1 in value. But I should just leave it over there.
You have 15,000 more touches. I just want you to know.
So I'll never do it because I'll never sell that one because unless I'm, I lose my house and I'm homeless and I need some dough. But Because it has such sentimental value to me.
Right.
Like it came, like it was given to me by my uncle for Christmas.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
yeah, and I was like 11 years old.
Yep.
And my parents had just split up,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
it was Christmas time, and and
So
I
it's
was
an
like,
extra bright spot in your life. Yeah.
I was bummed out, that my dad wasn't around for Christmas and stuff. Uh, and then I never thought I would have this. And he went out, my uncle went out, and it's like this reminder that, when things are down, there's always going to be people around. Like
Yeah.
there's always going to be people around who want to take care of you, make you feel good, and
True.
and just give, just so that you feel good just for a little bit, and who want to understand you. Like that has nothing to do with the Hulk and the Thing fighting for the first time. It's this sentimental value that I don't think I'll ever go. I'm going to sell this and make money off of this. So,
Yeah.
and I wonder, in our collecting in this community, and I know that probably breeders and vendors are different, might be different from collectors. I'm not sure.
It is different. The missing component to the analogy, and I think I cut you off there. I apologize. I don't.
No, it's okay.
But I think the missing component is, this is going to sound patronizing. I don't mean it that way, and I don't know a good comic book analogy. But if you have this, what's a good faction? What's a faction? There's a Fantastic Four. If you start with a Fantastic Two and you have another Fantastic Two and you leave them in a room together, they're never going to pop out the Fantastic Four in comic books. Okay, right?
Yes.
Did that work or not? Is that a good thing? I don't know if that worked or not.
Yeah, because there's the potential. Like you're
Right.
buying the potential. Yeah.
You're buying the future. The comic book is never going to evolve into
It's
something
a finite
else.
thing. Yes.
Yeah. If I have two Les Pauls sitting together, which is great, that's happiness. Those are guitars, folks. If I have two Les Pauls sitting together, no matter how much I spray them down with mist and turn down the lights, they're never going to pop out a little third super Les Paul. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Got it.
But the Snakes will. And that's what you're paying for as well. So, yeah, the whales that are out there, the collectors, they're actually fairly few and far between. Most of the people with large snake, to make this confusing, collections are breeders dreaming about the future. When I buy a super gravel, yeah, it's a killer snake. I'm not buying that snake because it's a super gravel, though. I'm buying it for where I want to take that. We call it a project, where I want to take that project in 10 years. Yeah. I want to see a super gravel chocolate clown.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not going to take me 10 years, but I'm buying the future ingredients. Gotcha. And I think that adds to the irrationality of the pricing. It adds to, it's just total. It feels overly simple, but Keith nailed it at Creative Genetics. He just said it's all subjective. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but that's overly simple. Like, I need a whole show worth of banter and content. Like, but it's true. It is totally, once you're above that cost to produce a snake, it's wide open. And that doesn't even take into account the crazy people willing to lose money on one snake because they think they could build a customer, or they need the space, or they're getting out, or whatever. I won't put anybody on the spot, but like when I bought several collections over my time. When I buy collections, I'm pricing them at pennies on the dollar. So, it is completely almost completely, just totally laissez-faire, do whatever you want kind of thing.
Is there a way to make it different than that, though? And would you want it to be different than that?
No, it is the attractive, romantic part, I gotta say. I love, like, it's the equalizer. Like, everybody's got a chance. What I've noticed, and most of them are right, most people are right when they tell me this stuff, but everybody, not everybody, that's not fair. It feels like everybody. There are lots of opinions. I've been the new guy for coming up on 4 years now, and I've always been pretty transparent about being the new guy, figuring it out. This is my journey. You know, that's kind of my story, my niche. And everybody's got an opinion, and everybody tells you this is how it's going to be, and everybody says this is the only way to make it work. And there are 9 different versions of the same story, with different, 9 different stories, excuse me, not the same story. And what I love is how wide open and crazy it is that I was able to carve out my own way. I'm probably one of the very few people, if any of them, that truly operate the way that I do. A lot of people say I didn't invest enough up front. I got to buy more expensive stuff. Other people say you're crazy because you don't run sales and you should run sales. Or, you know, it works for me. My components work for me. My resources work for me. Instead of raising my prices or figuring out how to get more profitable, I figured out how to lower my costs. Do one, do the other. Ideally, you could do both. Make a whole lot of money if you do both. So, and I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying I would advocate it for anybody else, but because of that, it allowed me to find my own way and create my own brand and have this crazy experiment that's working pretty well. I freak out sometimes because I don't know if it'll work 2 weeks from now, but right here, right now, today, it's working out pretty good. And I don't know how you would pinpoint those things that you're talking about of what would we call that? Quantifying things. How you would quantify that. So there are improvements just in the past year and a half. And it seems like it's been so long. It's been so short. We've evolved genetic testing, reliable genetic testing on certain genes to say, yes, that gene is present. No, that gene is not present. So that's helpful. But is it like a guitar spec sheet? This is made from ebony with stainless steel frets, mahogany neck, and a maple cap. And that's this guitar because it's branded with a serial number? No, I mean, we're not. It's cost prohibitive to microchip a snake. And even still, if we put it in that information to microchip a snake, whose information is providing it? Like even the very, very best breeders get things totally wrong. And I'm not picking on them. And again, this is another situation. I wouldn't name any names. I know factually, this will make more sense to the audience than to you, Joe. So I'm sorry. I'm going to go real snake gibberish here. No, I know a breeder that I work with very closely that bought 7 or 8 years ago a super orange dream pied ball python. Starts having babies. And guys in the audience, 7, 8 years ago, who was the only person making super orange dream pies? You know what I'm talking about. This thing starts making babies, not popping out orange dreams. Can't be a super then, right? But this guy said it was a super, and he's the authority on it. He knows it's a super.
Gotcha.
Just this year, and the snake looks different than anything else. It looks just like a super orange dream. Got to be a super orange dream. Piebald. Just this year, on accident, clutch happens, snake pops out a hypo. Oh, gets it genetic tested. Turns out that's a hypo orange dream pied. They didn't know they were dealing with hypo in their collection. And in that particular combination, it looked like it was a super orange dream rather than an OD hypo. And what I'm saying is not that person's an idiot. It's that we don't know, and we're figuring it out. We're doing the very best that we can. And that's the excitement. Like, we get to be part of this evolution. Like, I don't know what the analogy is. Is it the early days of people going from carriages to cars? Like, I don't know. It's this crazy thing that we're evolving and that we're a part of in the middle of it, you know? So, it's very cool. Hey, we just cracked a record. I think 46 concurrent viewers is our highest ever, Joe.
All right. And I think there's a lot of chatter on this in the chat. I
This
mean,
one, this one got things going. I figured out the title on this, didn't I?
and I love some of this, you know, because the market really dictates value, but the product is really, if you boil it down, the product, its utility is really what makes something valuable to you. So even my comment of, oh, this is more valuable than my car. There's some comments about, you know, well, your car is gonna, it has more usefulness to you. There's more utility in that.
Yeah,
So it's
you
more
can't drive that
valuable to
comic
you.
book to work, yeah, or to the
Right.
grocery store.
Yeah. And in a certain situation of a carrot is going to be more valuable because I'm going to have to eat
You need to
to
eat,
survive.
yeah,
Right.
right. At the end of
So
the
even
day,
that, yeah, even
yeah,
that is a really interesting part of this conversation. So I appreciate that.
yeah, it actually, as much as I whine and probably, I hope I don't border on complaining. I'd rather be making compelling content. But as much as I discuss this stuff and pick it apart, it's absolutely sort of the romantic attraction of, hey, I can get into this. I can't wake up tomorrow and be like, you know what the world needs is really affordable solar batteries. Let me figure that out. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I can do this, and I couldn't do it overnight, but my time involved has been a relatively short time, and I've made pretty reasonable waves, I think, for at least for my own brand. I'm not saying I've changed the industry, that's not the case, but I've gotten to a point where there's daylight to succeed, and I've done it my own way with a lot of help. I'm not saying I didn't get any help. I even input that I disagree with, I sort of go through why I disagree with it, and I learn from that. So I'm not saying I don't need anybody's input. This whole show series of 2 shows that I do and YouTube has been to learn and to get input and to be to farm people's ideas. So even when I feel annoyed by a comment, there's value and it's exactly what I've asked for, you know? So,
Sure. Yeah.
um, um, Keith says, chickens, that's the asset. That's Adam's angle with chocolate scales. I think Keith is saying if all else fails, we can always eat Taylor's chickens. Taylor's a chicken farmer. The rat farmer that I partnered with is a chicken farmer.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it's a long stretch. I hope I never get to the day where I'm relying solely on Taylor's chickens.
And so this has to be the last little comment because I do have to
I got a
leave,
boogie
even
too.
though
Yeah, I got a big day today.
even though I'm really enjoying this. Is So I'm seeing some things like I'll like 100% I'll buy from the person rather than the product. Going for the product, you know, if I'll pay, you know, more a little more to get from the right person. So also, you know, who's the customer then? You know, like I think this group here, they go, okay, yeah, I know, I trust and know Adam, or I trust and know, um, uh, you know, Jeremy. I
Right.
trust and know Chris. So I'm gonna buy from them before I buy from larger names. But really, who's your customer? Who are you really going for? Are you trying to sell to the people in this community, or are you trying to sell to people who are just, you know, I just want a snake. You know, I'm not a collector, but I want a snake. You know,
Right. Well, and that depends on I'm taking your question at surface value rather than just a rhetorical question. That depends on the given day and the given space. A lot of reptile shows I go to, I know those are going to be either pet buyers or entry level breeders. This show, this space, this atmosphere is probably people that are at the level in their pathway that I'm at or ahead of me. There's a whole lot of people that are doing way better stuff than I'm doing, but I might have one component they need. Like we were talking earlier about, I don't buy the super gravel for the super gravel. I buy it for what I'm going to make in the future.
right, right, okay,
If I have, because sometimes you can have the best looking snakes in the room, you can have the best prices in the room. If you don't have what people need, that's going to get them where they want to go on that given day, sometimes you just don't get sales. So you just weren't the right guy in the room.
Right.
And you literally, even Wilbanks can't have every combination of every snake out there that covers every need. And that's another beautiful part. I don't need 20,000 buyers. I just need one. I need more than one, but on any given snake, you only need one person. You just got to find it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think this is a good discussion. I think we can continue this discussion. Actually, we're getting some advice. Make a hook. Where is it? Make a hook and do part 2 next week.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot.
I mean, we're heading into Black Friday. You know what? Maybe we'll,
oh yeah, that's a good question, because next week is Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Will we do a show?
I can. It's up to you. That's a lot going on. We could. Okay, yeah, we got like 48 seconds here. Do you? What do you want to? Do you want to move it? You want to? Because I think I'm traveling, but I think I'm staying overnight Thanksgiving night, so I could do it Thursday morning. I could not do it Friday, or we could just jettison it for a week. Or what do you got going on?
We do a Friendsgiving on Wednesday night.
You're going to be feeling special Thursday
late.
morning.
Yeah, so Thursday morning might be really tough, but maybe we could do a late show
on Thursday.
Yeah, on Thursday.
What's your Wednesday like?
Wednesday, yeah, I could do Wednesday. Let's think about at the same time. Yeah. We'll let everybody know. Anyway, this is not good content. This is not the hook.
It's not the hook. We will have the hook. I'll post it earlier than my usual night before hook. Thank you, everybody, for your input. Even if I disagreed with it, it makes everybody's path is their own. If you can make it work for you, ride it to the moon, man. Do it.
And you all that tune in, and is that the right word for stream?
Yeah.
You all who are chatting, you all who tune in, that it's what makes this really, really fun. So thanks so much for coming. And we might see you next week.
No, we'll see you next. I will do a show. I don't miss shows. There's going to be a show. We just don't know when.
Okay.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Thank you all very, very much. We'll see you next time. I should be more on having the buttons ready. Here we go. Joe, have a great week. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Okay. Take care.
See you guys.